Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So, today I want to talk about a mysterious phenomenon in WANO and how it might connect to a legendary One Piece pirate. So I'll be honest guys, I've been sitting on this video for at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and I'm so torn because part of me says that there is no way that this is going to happen, and the other part of me says this is way too coincidental, there's way too many little bits of information that line up which make this possible. But here we are, we're going to make the video, I'm going to share my thoughts, and I think that there's enough here to keep you intrigued. Before we get into it, I want to give a huge thanks to my good friend Zypher, who presented to me a good portion of the evidence that I'll share with you in this video. A link for his channel will be in the description. And I also want to give a shout out to my good friend Jens, mainly because Jens has been trying to get me to talk about this theory for many years, and always brings it up and has believed it all the way from the beginning, even when I'm skeptical. I think even making this video means that I somehow lost this theory battle. But yeah guys, let's get into it. Today's theory is going to argue that we will find the golden lion Shiki in WANO. And so there's a lot of contributing details which lead me to speculate that there might be a connection between Shiki and WANO, but the only reason that I'm actually going to talk about it, and the final nail in the coffin for me to give up my opposition to the idea, is the fact that in WANO, as we have seen in the recent chapters, there's a floating roof. I think that we can all agree that roofs don't normally float on their own. And if that's the case, there must be some sort of power or magic or something weird happening here. And as far as we are aware, the only abilities which would be able to create this particular circumstance or situation would be devil fruit powers. And so we have Shiki, who has the float fruit. Obviously he couldn't make this roof float, just the same as we saw in the movie Strong World. He could make entire islands float. Another person's powers who could probably do this would be Fujitora. Fujitora probably didn't do this though. So this is where my mind is, guys. There is some sort of devil fruit ability that has made this roof float. We already have 2 characters in the story who are capable of this. Is Oda likely to introduce a 3rd character with floating related abilities? I don't think that it's particularly likely. I'm looking for an easy answer, and the only easy answer is not so easy. But it is interesting that Shiki did this. I really do not see why Oda would have taken the time to draw it if it was not important, or in some way hinting at something. Now, so why exactly is it hard for me to believe that Shiki did this, even though this really is the only answer that I have for it at the moment? And the main reason is that Shiki was the main villain in the movie Strong World. I've always felt this way, that if Shiki was going to play an important role in the main story of One Piece, that Oda wouldn't have given him a movie. I think that we need to keep in mind that Shiki was a legendary pirate, a contemporary and a rival of Goldie, Roger, and Whitebeard. Shiki's existence and his character is incredibly hype. And while this fueled the movie Strong World, I think that what should be Oda's main priority is the story of One Piece itself, the manga that we read every single week. I think that you detract from the story by introducing Shiki first in a movie where it reveals his power, his personality. To me, it would be almost the same as early on in One Piece to have Whitebeard featured in some kind of movie before we actually got to meet the man himself, because that reveal in the manga was incredible. But if Shiki appears here in WANO, it will never be the same. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be hype and that it wouldn't be good, it just wouldn't be as good. There's also a little part of me that wants to make One Piece movies canon. I know that they can't always be considered that way, but I like to fit them in. And I have a feeling that if Shiki appears in WANO, that essentially the movie Strong World is just something that I'm going to have to take out of my entire experience of One Piece. Try to forget, essentially. That being said, guys, I also think that it would be a shame if we never got to meet Shiki in the main storyline. It was stated in the manga itself, not in the movie. This was before the movie. Shiki was hinted that he had escaped Impel Down, was the only person to have done so before Luffy broke in and broke out with everybody. So just as the movie Strong World implies, Shiki is out there in the world somewhere. As being a contemporary and a rival of Whitebeard and Roger, he should play an equally large role in my opinion. And this in part contributed to my surprise and my shock when Shiki was given a movie. Because before then I was certain that he would appear sometime in the manga. But anyway guys, in a few words, the reasons why I have never wanted to support any Shiki related theory up until this point in time is solely because of the movie. If Shiki does appear, I think that this movie was not a good decision. That being said, over the course of the many years that I've been part of the One Piece community, there have been many Shiki related theories, and now we have this floating roof, which I don't believe has any good explanation aside from Shiki. I think that it's time to make an argument. And so I want to start with the idea that we've actually seen Shiki interact in this story again very, very subtly. Huge thanks to ProZypher for sharing this with me several months ago. This is honestly just something that baffles me, and so we saw in the cover page of chapter 631, Crocus sharing a cup of sake with a mysterious character who appears to be from WANO, or at least is wearing attire that we would associate with Japan and WANO. It seems pretty clear that this WANO-related character, who Oda does not want to show us clearly, is some sort of friends with Crocus, or has some relationship with them in the past. And there's many different ideas as to who this could be. But I want to argue that this is actually Shiki. Now, at first glance, it doesn't look a whole lot like Shiki, and so it's easy to be very skeptical. For instance, Shiki has a lot longer hair than this character does. Shiki also has a steering wheel sticking out of the top of his head, and while his head is obscured in this cover page, it does not appear to be there. The convincing evidence actually comes from the official coloring of this cover page. And so if you guys don't know, Shueisha printed a colored version of One Piece up through chapter, I think it was 721 or so. This is official. It's also worth pointing out that we do often get official colorizations of One Piece from the anime, but the anime does not animate the cover stories. So the only official coloring that we can have of this particular panel is from this colored version of One Piece. I want you guys right now to take a good, long, hard look at this panel. Pause it if you want to, take in all the details, write them down, do what you want to. First, we'll notice his hair color. The hair color is essentially the same as Shiki. Look at the clothing that he's wearing and how it was striped, and the coloring of those stripes. Also take note of the fact that he is wearing a long sleeved shirt underneath and the coloring of that. And now take a look at the design of Shiki. The very, very same coloring and stripe patterns, the very same type of clothing, even the black undershirt. I think that you need to ask yourself whether or not that this is a coincidence, and how could they make such a very specific coincidence that this character would wear essentially a Shiki outfit. That is what it is, a Shiki outfit 100%. Aside from the clothes that he wears, Shiki is distinguishable if you actually saw his face, but in this cover story, the character is turned away from us. His other distinguishing features would be his sword legs, as well as the wheel sticking out of his head, and Oda puts on a hat on this guy, and makes him sit in a way in which we cannot see his legs. Obviously his hair is longer than this character's, but if we assume that Shiki got a haircut, it is the very same color. There's just so many coincidences. To me, this is either Shiki or somebody trying to be like Shiki. And I think that this leads me into just the way that Shiki is dressed in the first place. He comes off as wearing things that would just fit in Wano, as though Shiki might have some kind of history with the country of Wano specifically. Another really popular theory from a long time in the past is what exactly happened to Capone Beige during the time skip. We can see in this very awkward panel, he's just on his ship minding his own business, and he actually gets sucked up into what appears to be a floating rock. And a lot of people speculated back in the day that this rock, ship, whatever it might be, is floating because it's Shiki's. Just the same as he levitated islands in Strong World. Additionally, during the 20th anniversary of One Piece, Oda made a statement to the public in which he suggested that during Wano, we would meet a lurking legend, and a lot of people thought that this legend could be Shiki. There's really not that many characters who would fit the definition of both lurking and legend, and if Shiki appears anytime during the story, he would be both. And lastly guys, curiously, again, this is either a coincidence or not, and I'll let you decide. When you look at the movie Strong World, the idea was for Shiki, over the course of many years, to create mutated beasts and set them on the world. Which is like almost exactly what Kaido is doing now with Smile Fruits. It's different, yet kind of the same. And so guys, as I've already stated, I do have a little bit of issues with how the character of Shiki was handled, assuming that he reappears. But this is what Oda has to say in SBS Volume 55. A fan asks if the Golden Lion from the upcoming film would be the same one as was mentioned in the manga, and this is what Oda has to say. Yes, Golden Lion, actually. I really wanted to have his name come up in the scene where Whitebeard talks to Shanks in Volume 45, but I thought at the draft level that I was handing out too much information and confusing the readers, so I took it away. But in my mind, I had determined that he is one of the legendary pirates who played a big part during Roger's time. Though I never thought I would make a movie about him. This is essentially confirmation that about 10 volumes before Strong World became an idea in Oda's mind, Shiki had a role to play in the manga of One Piece, and that Shiki was actually there and doing things. Oda very nearly mentioned him in one of the most memorable scenes in One Piece. But yeah guys, maybe that's enough, as it was for me, to convince you that, at the very least, perhaps Shiki showing up in Wano is a possibility, and it definitely makes this reveal of the floating roof even more significant. But yeah guys, it's about time that I talked about this idea. As always, I am curious as to what you guys think about this, whether you agree or disagree, and why. Just share your thoughts. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you dislike the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be notified for my future content, and as always guys, have a wonderful day.